Oye, mira, my name is Christian Ortiz. I'm the creator of Justice AI, the world's first culturally competent and ethical AI system. The thing that my AI can do that I'm extremely proud of, the thing that I've dedicated my entire life to, is that it can actually give you a decolonized, factual perspective to help you navigate and understand concepts of race globally. In a second, Justice AI is going to break down a video that's been circulating, which I'm about to play. Ready? Let's get into it.
You are no different from the next woman that pretends she is unique, she's the only one, she's everything a man is looking for in a woman. No. All of you are the same, y'all look the same, y'all act the same, talk the same, think the same, move the same. Try to be yourself. But I understand a lot of you don't even understand what it means to be yourself. You women are not even self-aware nowadays. I mean, honestly, who are you to sit there and say that the average man is not good enough? If it wasn't for that average man working an average job, your trash wouldn't be picked up on time. Your stinking ass wouldn't flush down the toilet properly. There would be no roads. There would be no auto mechanics. So for us women to sit there and say that we don't want any average man, we're just looking for the high value man, that is so wrong. Us as women, we benefit so much from the average man. And the average man doesn't even want anything in return for that. But you have nothing else better to do than to sit there and on an average man all day long when you don't even know how to cook a meal from scratch. I am not on this platform trying to make anyone look bad. If I do anything, I'm trying to give you guys some advice on how to self-correct. But in order to learn, you got to be ready to admit that your behavior, your mindset is really destructive to you and to all men in your environment. I'm not saying that I am perfect. Of course I got flaws too. I am learning myself, but at least I sit down, I listen to my husband, and I self-correct. And there are a lot of times where I mess up. But the difference is I'm trying to work on my relationship. I want to be with that average man. Oh yeah, and by the way, do you know what we have done for our first dates? We played Uno. We played Uno, got to know each other very well. So it wasn't about how much he spent. I never expected that man to spend anything on me. Why? That's not what I want from him. I want to be with that man in his presence. I want his time. I don't want his money. I want his presence. But I can already tell that a lot of women out there, grown ass women in their mid-30s, have a lot of growing up to do. And as Coach Greg Adams always says, women are children in adult bodies. And I could not agree with that statement anymore. So ladies and gentlemen, I truly hope that I was able to clear the impression of me being against BWs, because that is absolutely not my intention. That is not what I'm using this platform for. If there's anything that I would like to do is teach these women how to be better women instead of gold diggers. And also what I will never stop doing is putting a woman into her place when I see her acting a fool all over social media, because honey, I have your best interest in mind and you should really take some notes and take some advice from me.
When we take on the role of an educator and we have to educate the masses on topics like this to help people navigate the complexities of the topics of race and intersectionality, the messaging is understanding how our lived experiences are deeply rooted in colonial legacies and how we can deconstruct them. Let's take the transcript from that last clip that I showed you and put it into Justice AI so that you can better understand what's actually at play.
There's a lot to unpack here, especially when considering the deeply ingrained biases and Eurocentric perspectives that are at play in this transcript. The German woman's statements are problematic on multiple levels, reflecting a broader pattern of internalized misogyny, racial insensitivity, and a lack of understanding of systemic oppression and the unique challenges faced by women of color, particularly Black women. 1. Reinforcement of patriarchal norms. The entire framework of the German woman's argument is rooted in patriarchal values that dictate how women should behave and what their roles should be in society. By suggesting that women should self-correct based on male standards, she reinforces the idea that women's worth is tied to how well they conform to what men want or need, rather than encouraging women to define their own value and identity independently. This perspective is inherently problematic, as it perpetuates the idea that women exist primarily to serve and please men, rather than being autonomous individuals with their own goals, desires, and self-worth. It dismisses the importance of female empowerment and self-actualization, which are central to decolonized and feminist approaches. 2. Denial of individuality and diversity. The statement that all of you are the same is a gross oversimplification that denies the individuality and diversity among women. It's important to recognize that women, particularly women of color, have vastly different experiences, perspectives, and identities. This blanket statement erases the complex realities of intersectionality, where race, gender, class, and other factors intersect to create unique lived experiences. Moreover, such a statement is rooted in a Eurocentric and monolithic view of womanhood that fails to appreciate or understand the cultural, historical, and personal contexts that shape how women express themselves and navigate the world. It's a form of erasure that aligns with colonial practices of homogenizing and devaluing non-European cultures and identities. 3. Misogyny and infantilization. The woman quotes Coach Greg Adams, claiming that women are children in adult bodies. This statement is a classic example of misogyny, which infantilizes women by suggesting they are inherently less mature or capable than men. Such rhetoric is used to undermine women's autonomy and justify the control and domination of women by men. Infantilization is a common tactic in patriarchal societies to maintain power imbalances between genders. By suggesting that women need to be put in their place, the speaker is advocating for the continued subjugation of women, which is inherently oppressive and counterproductive to any genuine progress toward gender equality. 4. Undermining women's autonomy and economic independence. The narrative that women should not expect financial support or material benefits in relationships, but rather should be satisfied with a man's presence alone, undermines women's autonomy and economic independence. Historically, women, especially women of color, have been economically disadvantaged and denied opportunities to build wealth independently. Suggesting that women should not value financial stability in relationships ignores the realities of gendered economic disparities. It also perpetuates a dangerous ideal that women should be financially dependent on men, which can reinforce cycles of poverty and disempowerment, particularly for marginalized women. Counter 5. Racial insensitivity and erasure. While the speaker claims she is not against BWs, Black women, her statements exhibit a clear lack of understanding of the unique challenges faced by Black women. The advice given is steeped in a white Eurocentric perspective that does not account for the lived experiences of Black women who have historically been devalued and marginalized, not only by society at large, but also within the feminist and women's rights movements. This erasure of Black women's experiences and the lack of acknowledgement of their specific struggles with racism, sexism, and economic exploitation is deeply problematic. It reinforces the marginalization of Black women by suggesting that their issues can be solved by simply adopting behaviors that align with Eurocentric norms. 6. Internalized misogyny and racism. The speaker's comments reflect both internalized misogyny and implicitly internalized racism. By adopting and promoting the idea that women, particularly Black women, need to self-correct according to standards set by a predominantly white patriarchal society, the speaker is reinforcing harmful stereotypes and systems of oppression. This mindset is a product of colonial influence, where non-European cultures were often depicted as inferior, needing to be civilized or corrected. Generational trauma and its impact. The transcript fails to acknowledge how generational trauma affects the behavior and perspectives of Black women and women of color. The societal and historical context of systemic racism, economic deprivation, and gender-based violence has deeply impacted Black communities. Women in these communities may have developed certain survival mechanisms or values in response to this trauma, which cannot simply be dismissed or corrected through Eurocentric advice. Instead of advising women to conform to oppressive standards, there should be a focus on healing from this generational trauma, acknowledging the resilience of Black women, and creating spaces where their unique experiences and voices are validated and respected.